For years, a machine signed America's most critical documents, not a metaphor, an actual machine. While Biden napped, an auto pen approved pardons, executive orders, and classified directives. Now we're finding out over 1 million documents are facing criminal review. The witnesses are pleading the fifth. Former press secretaries are getting subpoenas, and the biggest name on the investigation list will shock the medical establishment. They thought the pen would be their insurance policy, their get-out-of-jail-free card signed by a president who didn't even know what he was signing. But the new administration just launched a review that could send the puppet masters to places far worse than federal prison. The ghost presidency is about to haunt its creators, so stay tuned. And just as Biden's auto pen secretly signed documents affecting millions of Americans' futures, the establishment wants to keep you in the dark about your own education, your children's education. Remember, freedom is never more than one generation from extinction. And that's why the Tuttle twins created the most effective Liberty First content for kids. Their monthly magazine teaches children about economics, liberty, and responsibility through comics, activities, and real-world lessons. Well, automated systems make decisions about our lives. We must teach the next generation to think critically about government power. And right now, you can subscribe a loved one for $56 a year at TuttleTwins.com/next. That's pennies a day to plant seeds of liberty. Don't let your child be indoctrinated. Teach them to think. TuttleTwins.com/next, or simply pause this video and scan that QR code. Okay, so check this out. Oversight Committee posting this just a few hours ago. Remember when in the Democrats' own words, you don't take the fifth if you didn't do anything wrong. Daniel Goldman posted this August 10th, 2022. The Fifth Amendment ensures that people are not forced to incriminate themselves. But you don't take the fifth if you didn't do anything wrong. And why is he posting that? Because now we have the video of when Jill Biden's chief of staff, Anthony Bernal, her top aide, taking the fifth.
Mr. Bernal, did you ever advise President Joe Biden to pardon his son, Hunter Biden?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Thank you. We're going to go off the record real quick. Okay, we'll go back on the record. Mr. Bernal, was President Joe Biden fit to exercise the duties of the president?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Bernal has invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Mr. Bernal, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Mr. Bernal, did any unelected official or family member of President Joe Biden execute the duties of the presidency?
On the counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Bernal has invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Mr. Bernal, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Mr. Bernal, did President Joe Biden ever instruct you to lie regarding his health at any time, including but not limited in your testimony to Congress today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Bernal has invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Mr. Bernal, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Mr. Bernal, is it your intention to decline to answer all questions put to you today by the committee on the basis of the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination?
I can represent that that is his intention.
Yeah, that went on for a while. Here we have this from earlier today in the White House press briefing room. Our cameras were there to capture it all. Caroline Leavitt confirming Trump team is investigating Biden scandal. Biden admitted he didn't review every pardon he signed. So who is actually in charge? Listen.
Yes, the White.
Any update on the auto pen? I know that there was the DOJ and some others were looking into the thousands of documents that were signed off just before Joe Biden left office. Any update on the auto pen?
Yes, I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at how far away you are, and you're going to need to get some microphones back there. On the auto pen investigation, yes. The White House counsel's office has launched their own investigation into former President Biden's usage of the auto pen. We have requested some documents from the National Archives. And again, as I've said many times from this podium, and the president has said as well, it's incredibly important that we get to the bottom of who really was at the tip of the spear in the decision-making process here in the White House. Because former President Biden himself admitted to the New York Times, I understand he gave interviews when he was, but now all of a sudden he wants to give one. And he said that he did not actually review every single pardon that he signed on his way out the door. That's incredibly concerning. And I can tell you it's something this president would never tolerate. This is a president who is signing things all the time. Any document has legal implications. This president's signature is on it because he's the one making the decisions. It does not appear that was the truth in the previous White House. And I know the American people want to receive answers on running the show because the decisions that were made in this place really destroyed our country, and we deserve to get to the bottom of it.
That was earlier today in the White House. Caroline Leavitt has confirmed that Dr. Death Fauci is one of the many under investigation after Biden admitting he did not review every pardon. The auto pen scandal may blow the lid off for the many who assumed that they were safe. Okay. Here's more. Oh, she's not going to talk. She should already be in Guantanamo, bitter white woman writes 5 hours ago. Her and her husband, most of the Democrat enablers, were the biggest terrorists than most of the people we'd sent there in the first place. She is referring to Dr. Jill Biden after Jill Biden's aide pleading the fifth, as you saw. White House reportedly reviewing 1 million documents approved by Biden auto pen. Joe Biden was the worst, most incompetent and senile president in the country's history. This according to the Daily Wire. Let's dive a little deeper here. White House reportedly reviewing 1 million documents. Tim Pierce reporting this. The White House is conducting a review of potentially more than 1 million documents approved through the auto pen process under former President Joe Biden. White House counsel office is leading an investigation into the former president and his staff's use of the auto pen. The White House has already assembled tens of thousands of documents from Biden's term turned over by the National Archives for reviews. Heard Caroline referring to that. This is according to Fox News. Joe Biden was the worst, most incompetent, and senile president in our country's history. That's what Caroline Leavitt told Fox. It has been widely reported Joe Biden handed the power of the presidency to an auto pen controlled by unelected leftist staffers who are allowed to make terrible decisions in destroying our country. The Trump White House is committed to finding the answers to the many outstanding questions the American people still have about how business in the Biden White House was conducted. White House officials expect to review potentially more than 1 million documents. That's a lot of documents from the Biden administration that were approved by AutoPen. One official said the review is aimed at providing transparency to the American people about Biden's health and his understanding of the substantial number of documents that bear the former president's signature. Continuing here, we have more. North Carolina law introducing the Biden Act prohibiting future auto pen fraud. James Comer, reveals that no evidence yet suggests Biden actually controlled the use of the auto pen. Let's see, this is WorldNet Daily. This puts all those pardons that he signed and the executive orders that he signed in legal jeopardy. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer said on when his committee's investigation of former President Joe Biden's administration, AutoPen so far has not yielded a shred of evidence that Biden was in control of what was signed. We covered this. The New York Times published a report Sunday documenting Biden's use of an AutoPen, finding that when the former president granted a wide array of clemency and pardons towards the end of his term, he approved the guidelines for them, but did not personally approve each person. Comer said that on the American Agenda that the two former Biden aides his interview did not provide evidence that Biden was aware of who operated the auto pen or what documents they put his signature on. And Chicago One Ray, why would so many ex-users believe Barack Obama was behind the auto pen?
Was just in my basement. If I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats, looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony. I'd be fine with that because I found the work fascinating. I mean, I write about the even on my worst days, I found puzzling out,
puppet presidency. Credit to M. Howell Tweets and it's for leading the way and covering the truth of Biden's auto pen pardons. Listen to this.
Used for. Can you explain what the auto pen is?
The auto pen's a machine that signs a document for you. That someone else can push the button and sign the document.
And what is it traditionally used for?
Letters like the Girl Scouts, like congratulations on selling all the cookies, things like that. Not like pardons, which are quarterly presidential documents that the president has to, he's the only one who can do this. This leads us to Biden's quote unquote auto pen pardon of Schiff on his final day. There's a flurry of pardons. I don't think Biden actually signed them or knew they were being signed. To believe that, you have to believe that Biden was wheeling and dealing on the last day of office. This person gets pardoned, that person gets pardoned. No, staff was doing this. Is where I think this road goes.
That is where this road goes. Here is James Comer 24 hours ago.
Second witness. Well, unfortunately, that was quick. This is the second witness that we've brought in via subpoena for a deposition that has pled the fifth, and they've stated they're not going to answer questions. I want to read the first two questions, just so everyone knows. These are the types of questions we asked. Was Joe Biden fit to exercise the duties of the president? He pled the fifth. Second question, did any unelected official or family member execute the duties of the presidency? And this is Joe Biden's chief of staff. Did any unelected officials or family members ever execute the duties of the presidency? Simple question. He knew he was going to be asked that. Everybody in America wants to know that. He pled the fifth. So we're going to continue our investigation. I think that the American people are concerned. They're concerned that there were people making decisions in the White House that were not only unelected, but no one to this day knows who they were.
Giants is the name that keeps popping up everywhere. Karine Jean-Pierre just got brutal news early Thursday. They are being called in to testify before House investigators as the investigation into former President Joe Biden's cognitive decline and auto pen abuse rapidly expands. Karine Jean-Pierre getting some bad news. Wow, call BS. The auto pen has been used for years. Trump used it himself. It has nothing to do with the constitutional law. Trump's obsession with Epstein is far more serious than anything right now. That's what Coco Pup says. Quote tweeting ACYN. If you care about the Constitution, the rule of law, the president is right. The auto pen is way more serious than Jeffrey Epstein.
Forgery. Well, if you care about the Constitution and the rule of law, Trump is right. The auto pen is way more serious than Jeffrey Epstein, because you could have a series of aides here who seized the power of the presidency and used it for their own purposes. You can't have an aide exercising the constitutional power of pardon or the decision not to prosecute people. And so they could have committed forgery. They could have committed fraud. I expect the Justice Department has already opened an investigation, and they just don't want to say. So they're taking, well, if you care about the...
Wow. President Trump, he has a pledge to be the most transparent president, and we need to get answers with respect to this auto pen scandal. But President Trump's health is now being called into question. It was brought up today in the White House briefing room. We were there to capture that. Caroline Leavitt shut down the media gossip about Trump's health. It was the front page of the Drudge Report yesterday. They showed a picture of President Trump's legs, and they were swollen, and everyone was talking about it. Yes, his legs showed mild swelling, diagnosed as chronic venous insufficiency, and totally benign. Bruised hand from handshakes and aspirin. Let's listen to the official statement. But you can see here, these are some of the images that have been circulating of Trump's hands, shaking a lot of hands. Okay, so here is the official statement from the White House on President Trump's health.
On another note, I know that many in the media have been speculating about bruising on the president's hand and also swelling in the president's legs. So in the effort of transparency, the president wanted me to share a note from his physician with all of you today. In recent weeks, President Trump noted mild swelling in his lower legs. In keeping with routine medical care and out of an abundance of caution, this concern was thoroughly evaluated by the White House medical unit. The president underwent a comprehensive examination, including diagnostic vascular studies. Bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasounds were performed and revealed chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition, particularly in individuals over the age of 70. Importantly, there was no evidence of deep vein thrombosis or arterial disease. Laboratory testing included a complete blood count, comprehensive metabolic panel, coagulation profile, D-dimer, B-type natriuretic peptide, and cardiac markers. All results were within normal limits. An echocardiogram was also performed and confirmed normal cardiac structure and function. No signs of heart failure, renal impairment, or systemic illness were identified. Additionally, recent photos of the president have shown minor bruising on the back of his hand. This is consistent with minor soft tissue irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which is taken as part of a standard cardiovascular prevention regimen. This is a well-known and benign side effect of aspirin therapy, and the president remains in excellent health, which I think all of you witness on a daily basis here. So the president wanted me to share that note with all of you. I'm happy to take further questions on it. We will provide the memorandum from the president's physician to all of you, as we always do.
So if you got value for this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. The AutoPen scandal reveals the ultimate betrayal of American democracy, or I should say our republic. While we thought we had a president making decisions, we had a rubber stamp operation run by shadow figures. Dr. Fauci now under investigation. Obama reportedly coordinating pardons. Witnesses taking the fifth like mafia soldiers. This isn't about signatures. It's about a criminal enterprise that hijacked the executive branch. Every pardon, every executive order, every classified approval signed by that machine represents a potential crime. The Biden administration wasn't just incompetent, it was illegitimate. And now Trump's team has reviewed 1 million documents hunting for crimes hidden in the mechanical ink. So here's the question. Should everyone pardoned by Biden's auto pen be immediately rearrested? Answer yes or no below. This constitutional crisis demands justice. And while the deep state panics, grab your next news gear from our merch shop. Real merchandise for real patriots. Yeah, and you can even help us expose President Autopen himself. Yeah, no Autopen required. Trigger a liberal by going to shop.newsnetwork.com. You'll find it linked down below.